Welcome to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke, and today's guest is Lindsay Stanton. She is a certified intuitive Reiki healer, coach, and author of Enduring and Everlasting, a personal story of love transforming deep grief. Her work involves assisting those seeking deep healing and transformation, and today we'll discuss how she helps clients deepen their communication and language with their loved ones on the other side. Lindsay, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So you started out as a Reiki healer. Then at some point you opened yourself up to the other side. How did that begin to happen?
Well, I opened myself up to the other side actually before I did any of the modalities and certifications that I have. Essentially, I started getting messages from my husband literally the minute he crossed over to the other side. I just continued to follow those nuggets and trusted in what I knew I was receiving. And that led me down the path. It's been amazing. I was actually recently reflecting back with somebody I hadn't talked to in about a year and a half on all the modalities and trainings that I have done just in the last few years, and to help myself and in the process through my learnings, be able to help others. And Reiki is definitely part of that.
So the Reiki came afterwards. And so you started experiencing things right when your husband passed. When you were younger, like as a child, were there any instances of psychic phenomena, seeing spirits, feeling spirits?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I would say, maybe this isn't the best way to say it, but I always say that once my husband passed, it's like all that's on steroids. Like it just went exponentially larger. But yeah, I had definitely had small stuff my entire life, especially like after grandparents passed and stuff in my late teens, early 20s, where I would just have like a felt sense of vibration and inner knowing that they were around, that they were helping with a certain situation. So yeah, and huge connections with my animals. I've always had really close relationships with the animal world. I've always had animals come up to me in the wild that, that most people, they would be afraid of. So there's definitely always been that level of connectivity as well, which I think it's all energetics, right? I mean, whether we're connecting with people and animals here in the physical, or if they're on the other side at the end of the day, it does all translate to energetics. So I feel like that's also an indicator that I was like more open to that type of energy.
So I've noticed, since you brought it up, the animals, they don't call themselves mediums. They call themselves animal communicators, but they talk about having communications with pets that passed, and they can, with their clients, try to contact someone's cat or dog or whatever that pet may be. So did you experience anything like that when you were younger, or did it all kind of snowball once your husband passed?
I did experience that when I was younger, and that's actually what I think let me trust in the signs that I was getting early on from Roger, because I had already had really deep experiences, including dream visits and very specific messaging from a dog that I would consider my soul dog on the other side. Right after he passed, similar. I got dream visits right away from him. I had visual experiences and signs right away from him. So that let me know that it was 100% possible and real. And so that helped me trust more.
Dream visitations.
Mm-hmm.
So can you describe one, or take one for example? Because I hear about this a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are multiple types of dream visits, and I actually outline the different types that I have personally experienced. There's probably more than the ones that I personally experienced I outline in the book, because sometimes they're super simple. Like it could just be a waking up and a knowingness that you just spent that time that you were sleeping in the 5D and connecting with your loved one, and you wake up with just a sense of peace, happiness, connectivity, joy that's like viscerally felt, but you can't really exactly explain why. You just know that you were with them. Other times they're more detailed. Since I've been having them for a while now, this happens more and more often. I think the more we tap in, the more we tend to get experiences, and the deeper the experiences go. But a lot of my dream visits have a lot of crossover into the physical world. So for example, my husband will help me with a challenge or problem that I'm seeing. He'll help me see it in a different way, or just remove stress around a situation through our interaction in the dream world. Conversely, and I just had this happen on New Year's. New Year's was a huge deal for us. We always kind of went all out for New Year's. Of all the holidays, it's probably the one that I feel the most. But I had a dream visit with him New Year's night where conversations I'd been having with him in my head leading up to New Year's and the couple days prior, and experiences I was having here in the physical world came through in the dream. So what I experience a lot of times with dream visits is there's a connection to the physical world and vice versa. So within the dream, and I guess you would consider it lucid dreaming, within the dream, I recognize that he is helping me or we're communicating about something in the physical world that's going on with me. I'm aware of that when I'm having the interaction with him in the dream, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it actually does. So you've actually had instances of lucid dreaming where you know you're dreaming, but you're talking with him as if he's giving you advice.
100%.
Problem at work or whatever it is.
Yes.
Pretty incredible. What kind of things do you guys talk about?
And that's honestly a great question. And trust me, I'm not shy about going deep into our personal lives. That's what our book does, because it's necessary for people to understand what's possible with these types of connections, right? By day, I run a technology company that my husband and I founded, and it was his baby. I mean, he lived and breathed so much of the company. He was so passionate about it, as am I. But he will often help me navigate situations with that. So like on the work side, and since we worked together, that like definitely tightened our bond even more. We did all things together, which I know is probably pretty unusual but for us, like it just worked really well. And I'm so thankful we had that extra time as a result of being able to work together, travel together for work. But he'll give me insights as far as like the business. He will also help give me insights as far as my soul's purpose, tying back to helping others, you know, being in community, like with people with the grief, and seeing what the next step is, starting to send me vibrational energy within dreams of what's next for me, like getting trained in somatics. I didn't even know what somatics was a couple years ago. Starting to get those little nuggets that end up growing, and you get more and more signs and validation in the physical world to kind of put an exclamation point on the nuggets of information that I got. And then obviously romantic relationships happen in dream visits too. And sometimes I ask for them. And whenever I ask, he delivers. I've had so many instances where I went to bed and told him I would love him to kiss me. And we've had the dream interaction, like we might be talking about something or whatever. And then at the end, he will come back, give me a passionate kiss and say, "Was that what you wanted?" And I'm like, "Yes." So that's what I mean about the crossover. It's like amazing.
That's a lot more substantial than seeing a cardinal on a tree or a white butterfly. And I'm not trying to minimize that, but this is, as you say, a real crossover. With your type of insight into the other side, does your husband or anybody else for that matter ever talk about like, what do they do there? I've heard things like they work on stuff, they're working on themselves, they do fun things, they have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
He is a very intelligent and definitely represents Gemini to the core. So he's got like that sense of humor for sure, which comes out in things that he does to me. So, you know, he might play like a joke on me. Like he loves to use technology. So definitely they maintain the same personality they have here in the physical world. It's just they don't have the physical restraints of their human body anymore. But I know personally, like for him, he keeps very busy because I have been told and also seen myself that he is on my high council, so plays like an elevated role. Now, that is actually pretty unusual for your loved ones to be able to do that. But because I've been shown that because he and I are meant to have a large contribution to the way that people look at grief and reshaping what people think is possible, which is why our souls agreed to go on this journey of loss together, that because of that, he is able to guide me in a unique way as like my higher counsel. And so giving me more insights that typically your guides or your angelic support team might be responsible for. He's kind of helping because I trust him implicitly. And so I would never question any guidance or nuggets of information that I knew was coming from him.
There was a pretty large batch of information you just gave us.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It's great. Guides, angels, soul agreements. So you had basically implied that you both agreed to this life, which implies that you planned it. So did you ever have any experience with what is referred to as the in-between space, life between lives?
I have not, but I have done multiple past life regressions that validated what I intuitively felt and knew when he crossed. So I recognize that having been through grief in a multitude of ways with other losses, that each loss is unique and our response to it is unique. But I at a soul level knew that there was a reason that it hit me with the depth that it did. And that was that he and I, this was not our first rodeo, that we had spent many, many lifetimes together, and that I was feeling the loss, kind of the reopening of every loss that we had ever experienced, whether it was me passing before him or vice versa, that I was feeling the weight of that. And that was very much validated to me through the past life regressions that I did.
The reason I bring that up is because we've interviewed several hypnotherapists, regressionists, whatever you want to call them. Some will bring their patients, their clients through the death and then into the life between lives, and some don't always do it. But it seems that you witnessed the panorama of the past lives, so you pretty much knew what the inherent purpose was, hence the soul purpose, which you mentioned a few moments ago. So he's on what you call the high council. Again, this refers to what some people, some experiencers call the Council of 12, which is not just guides, they're on the high council. So is he a spirit guide or is he something different?
I haven't heard the term spirit guide in relation to him, so I don't think so, but I don't want to say no, but that hasn't been shown or told to me in any way.
So you have experience with angels as well.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you know what spirit guides are, and sometimes people, including myself, can easily get them confused. Has your experience given you some clarity to kind of see what this group is and what this group is, even though they're both trying to take care of us?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know for me personally, and I think most of the people that I'm in like spiritual community with have had the same experience, that you typically kind of have a few angels that are kind of your go-tos, if you will. And I feel like we just kind of know intuitively, like for me personally, Archangel Michael is definitely on my team. Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Raphael are kind of the ones that round out my team. I feel in my body a different vibration when I'm interacting with them individually, and I'll know which one it is as it relates to that. And just to circle in the Reiki, like when I'm doing a session with somebody, it is angelic and intuitive Reiki. So in addition to doing healing work in the person's chakras, I will actually tap into their and my support team on the other side, and oftentimes get messages both from the angelic realm as well as their loved ones on the other side.
There is obviously a relationship between your loved ones on the other side, whether they're spirit guides or not, as well as the angelic realm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it possible for anyone to really tap into that, into the angelic realm, that is?
I think so. I mean, I've definitely had experiences where during sessions with people, and even when I've had sessions done with me, that I've had, my angelic support team there actually with my husband, and even sometimes with pets of mine on the other side as well.
Have you seen them? Are there any visuals, or is it more of a knowing?
I tend to get all the above. I will typically get a visualization. I will feel it in my body. Sometimes that translates to tears just running down my face. I had that a lot during the regressions. And I feel like that's your body confirming what your soul is trying to communicate to you, just that you feel it that deeply, that emotionally. But yes, I think so. That's been my experience.
Angels, guides, and some of the spirit guides are animals, power animals.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't realize that at first, but it kept coming up again and again. And I thought, power animals, it's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, it is so cool. And a couple years ago, I was getting jaguars were coming up for me everywhere, 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 everywhere. And then I read what the personality or traits are if that is your spirit animal. And it was so dead on. So I was like, okay.
I've always been curious with cats. Big cats, small cats, whatever, lions, jaguars, mountain lions. I lived in LA for a while because everybody was talking about, wow, it'd be so cool if you saw a mountain lion. I thought, not up close it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a good idea. What are the traits? I'm just curious.
I don't have them memorized, but I do know that leadership and perseverance were some of the things. Being able to hold a lot of challenge and struggle and transmute it were some of the things. I can't remember all the details, but it definitely, as I was reading it, I was like, yes, 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 yes.
Excellent. Okay, good. Now, let's talk a little bit about the book. I believe Enduring and Everlasting, this was channeled?
Yes.
Okay, was it your husband, your late husband? Was there like a choir of angels? What was it actually?
Yeah, it was definitely my husband helping me with it, it's interesting because very much like speaking to a loved one here in the physical world, people have certain vernacular that they use when they talk, and we know when somebody else is saying something versus when we're saying it. And I found so often, number one, my hand couldn't keep up with the words that were pouring out. And number two, so much of the language was much more the way he would communicate than necessarily the way I would communicate. So yeah, it was pretty amazing. Like I said, I literally physically, my hand would like cramp. I just couldn't keep up with the words that were pouring through me. So
is that automatic writing? Or because again, automatic writing and channeling, they seem to be somewhat similar.
They're similar. I think it's different. Automatic writing for me personally hasn't been something I felt called to. I know some people love that tool. To me, I just haven't felt called to it. This was more like we were in concert together, like we were both playing an instrument and both instruments were flowing through my hands as I was writing, if that makes any sense.
It does. It's like basically having two guitar players who are actually playing not too much, but playing what they're supposed to be playing, in other words. That's a lot to ask for, by the way. Okay. Well, you brought up the musical element, so I had to just kind of throw that in there. So what are some of the most important things you've learned from the journey, channeling the book, creating the book, and the other side in the spirit world in general?
Yeah, honestly, probably one of the most powerful things that I did early on, and I guess it was somewhat instinctual, intuitive, was keeping a journal. I can't even say enough positive things about what that's done for me along the way. Number one, it's such an amazing tool for you to constantly come back to, because no matter how strong you are or how grounded you are in your practice, there are moments, there are days that you are going to go down the rabbit hole, and it's going to be, grief is going to make you feel overwhelmed. And having a journal that you can come back to that is a documented truth of the experiences. Our egoic mind has a really bad habit of just conveniently wiping out all the things that led you to what you know is truth. And so when you document it and write it down in a journal, you combat that. And then the other thing that does is it revalidates for the other side the signs that you've sent. So journaling and sharing my story have been really powerful because they love when we celebrate what they send us, whether it's a dream visit, whether it's a sign, to the cardinal example that you mentioned. They love when we celebrate that, and that just energetically raises our vibration and lets them meet us kind of in the middle. And by journaling it and being able to document and share those stories, you now help them have a clearer, better pathway to communicate with you more. So that's one of the things that I think fundamentally I did early on that I'm so thankful for, because it has been just a beacon for me.
You brought up an important point about us raising our vibrations so they can kind of meet us halfway. That world, the spirit world, and 5D. So one thing I've always been curious about is I know that there have been writers, maybe even channelers, that talked about different levels in the spirit world. And obviously we hear people talking about 3D and 5D and even way beyond that. Are there levels in the spirit world? And if so, does that correspond to the different dimensions, or are they completely separate things?
I'm not sure about the different dimensions, but I definitely think there are, to some extent, levels. From what I've seen, I think it has to do with how many lifetimes we've been here, how many journeys we've been on, and how much we've learned along those journeys and how much we can contribute to those that are here when we do cross over. I think the more experience we have and the more work we do when we're here, the higher that level can go and the easier we can do things and help people from the other side when we do cross over. I don't think it's necessarily like hierarchical, because I see it definitely as just all like oneness and just, positive energy, light energy. But I do think that we're able to do things, tap into things that maybe we wouldn't otherwise once we achieve certain learnings here in the physical world.
It seems like there's always a lesson. There's always a reason, a specific reason that we're here to begin with. That's at least what I'm told. So for someone who's listening or someone who's reading your book, what's the best advice you can give them if they say, this sounds really cool, I want to raise my vibe, I want to do this, but really, I want to know that my friends and family that passed on, I want to know that they're not gone forever. Or I just want to communicate with so-and-so. What would you tell them?
Yeah, some really simple things that you can do to help yourself. Number one, I would tell you that anybody can do this, and any medium worth their salt will communicate the same exact thing. Anybody can do this. If you listen to super famous mediums like Laurel Lynn Jackson, who's like one of the best out there, she talks about it all the time. Anybody can do this. If you don't meditate currently, do short meditations. It doesn't have to be long. It just helps train your mind to like shut out all the egoic question mark stuff and all the kind of nonsense, like the child who's trying to get your attention, basically. So for me, it's
You said it, not me.
Yeah, that is what it is. But for me, that's like a 5 to 10 minute practice. I love to do a meditation before I go to bed because that helps open me up to receive a dream visit. For me, that time of day is really important so that I can help open that pathway. I already mentioned journaling and all the enormous benefits I feel like from that. When you mentioned about getting like the simpler signs, you know, like whether it's for me, butterflies, frogs, and birds of prey, especially hawks, are big ones for me. When you get those, they are basically like us learning the alphabet when we're children. And it is the foundational step of trust that helps you build your communication system with your loved one on the other side.
The simple signs, the
Yes.
cardinals, the white butterflies or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. They're sending you messages at critical times, of course. It might be just a hello and I love you. Like if it's like your anniversary or, you know, somebody's getting married, of course, they're going to send you those signs then. But definitely early on, as you're building out your communication system, they're going to send those signs as validators that you're on the right path and that you are, in fact, recognizing communication from them. Then the messages start to get more complicated. So it's basically like, that's the letters. Now you can build a word and then a sentence and then a full language is where you're going to end up. So those simple signs are actually really, really important. And again, sharing with other people that you're getting those. I can't say that enough because it raises your vibration. You're excited, like you're viscerally excited when you get the sign. You know as soon as you get it that it's your loved one and your body feels it. And when you share that out, that raises your vibration to receive more. So it is like this amazing build that just keeps growing and growing. The more you recognize it, the more you tap into it, the more it grows. So I would say don't get discouraged. If you're getting simple signs now and you want it to grow into something robust, let yourself be excited about those simple signs because they're really, really meaningful and they're very foundational.
It's like them learning the alphabet when they first cross over. When we cross over, we have to learn to communicate with people here on Earth or any other planet for that matter. A lot of this kind of reminds me of communicating with those that have passed over is what mediums do, but you don't brand yourself as a medium, maybe as a channeler. Do you avoid that on purpose? Or does it not really occur to you?
I don't avoid it on purpose, but I think it's important for people to know that anybody can do it. And I certainly had and have no intention of being a medium for a profession. Do I use the signs and information that I get when I'm doing healings and share that with people from their loved ones on the other side? Yes, of course. Do I use that in my coaching practice as well? Yes, of course, because it will help the person. But I think it's important not to classify myself as a medium, quite frankly, because let them do their job. I'm friends with a lot of them and they are amazing. And
yeah, they are.
Yeah. And they serve such an important purpose. I more consider myself like a go-between to help people learn the skills to have communication on their own. And then I view like medium readings, and I do them still, as kind of the icing on the cake. When you've written the story, when you've seen the language, when you've built that communication system, and you just want that extra layer of validation, that's where a medium like is beautiful, because they can just tie everything up in a nice bow for you.
I agree. The reason I brought that up is because I've noticed a lot of empaths or intuitives, as they call themselves, obviously have those skills, but they don't really want to practice as a medium for the simple fact that it's very draining and they want to avoid certain things that come with the trade. What kind of safety precautions do they need to know about before they open themselves up to the other side?
I think the only thing is, like, for me, I do like a little prayer. I talk to my husband before I go to bed at night, and I do a little prayer before I go to sleep and just open myself up to receive messages. I specifically ask Roger for messages, but I also ask God, Universe, Source, to send me whatever messages I'm meant to receive from my team. And I always say, those that walk in your love and light. And to me, that is like only going to allow positive, helpful messages. I'm not a firm believer in the idea of a lot of negative energy. I think at the end of the day that God, Universe, Source, wherever you want to call it, whatever term you want to use, is all about us being divinely protected and guided. So if you feel like you need to use that type of terminology to protect yourself, then by all means. Personally, I've opened myself up and I don't feel like at risk at all. It's all warmth and love. On the other side, that's all there is warmth and love. It's just how that energy is being translated and used.
For those that walk in love and light, reminds me of a Reiki healing I went to not too long ago. I thought, these women know what they're doing. Great stuff. Lindsay, thanks for joining us tonight. How can our listeners find you online?
My handle on Instagram is The Healing Grief Guide. I also have a website called thesoulrevival.com. And then, of course, the book, The Enduring and Everlasting, can be found anywhere books are sold, including Amazon.
I will put those links in the show notes and the transcript as well. You've been watching Closer to Venus and Johnny Burke. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing. For more information, go to closertovenus.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.